Hello, welcome. This video is about computer architecture and organization. This is an introduction, and at the end of this video, you'll be able to know the difference between computer architecture and computer organization. Have an overview of the different components of the computer and how they work together. And finally, have a brief overview of the historical development or the generation of computers. Let's get started with the definitions. Computer architectures and computer organization are closely related terms, so I'm going to define them. So, computer architecture is a specification detailing how a set of software and hardware technology standards interact to form a computer system or platform. Simply, this is how a computer system is designed and what technologies are compatible with the computer system. Computer organization is concerned with the structure and behavior of a computer system as seen by a user. Simply, this is how a computer system works. Note, with speed and other resources not taken into consideration, anything done with software can be done with hardware, and anything done with hardware can be done with software. So, basically, a computer system has four main components, which are the input devices, which are devices used to send data into the computer system which are being processed. The output devices, which are the devices that outputs or sends the information for the user to see, like monitors or like liquid crystal display screens. We have the secondary storage devices, which are the devices that store data for a long-term purpose, like for a long time to be used after or to be retrieved after. And finally, we have the processor/RAM, which is used in processing the data that has been inputted, and after processing, it sends the data or information to the output devices or are being stored on the secondary storage. This is basically how the computer functions. It receives data or information from the input devices, which are being processed by the computer CPU associated with the RAM. After being processed by the CPU, it's been sent to the output devices or being stored for further or later use. That's basically how the computer functions. Many of us don't know the different properties or the characteristics associated to our PCs or our computer system. So here I'm going to give a brief overview and talk about the main components and what they do, like the main components of our computer system and what they do and how they affect our machine. So, we have the microprocessor, which is a central processing unit on a single integrated circuit chip containing millions of tiny components like transistors that work together. This is the main feature of fourth generation computers. For example, the i3, the i5 processors, which are mainly characterized by the speed measured in gigahertz. So, like for example, a computer processor with 1.3 gigahertz. The 1.3 GHz is the operating frequency or the internal frequency of the cores or the CPU. This level of 1.3 GHz simply means 1.3 billion operations are performed in a clock cycle. The cache, this is the memory that is associated with the microprocessor and is close to the processor. This memory reduces the average time to access data from the main memory. That is, it stores copies of data from frequently used memory location, hence reducing the access time and hence making operations go faster. The RAM is a random access memory and is the memory being used to store data of the current operations being performed by the CPU. This memory is faster, that is, the access time of the memory is faster. That's why it's being preferred to the secondary storage devices and hence make operations faster. The hard disk, this is a secondary storage device used in storing data for long-term purposes, and the access time is slower than that of the RAM. That's why the RAM is being used. But now the RAM is volatile, meaning that all the data stored in the RAM are being lost once the computer is shut down. Meanwhile, the hard disks or the secondary storage devices are involatile, meaning the data being stored on the devices are not lost when the computer is being shut down. We also have the system bus, which connect the main components of the computer system together. They are divided into three types: the address bus, the control bus, and the data bus. So the address bus determines where the data is being sent. The control bus determines the operations that are being performed, and the data bus carries the information to the other components. We also have the ports, which are the interfaces used to connect the computer system with other computer systems or with peripheral devices like the input devices or the output devices. They are notably divided into the serial ports, which send data in and out sequentially one bit at a time, e.g. the modem ports or most peripheral devices. We also have the parallel ports, which are parallel interfaces used to transfer data 8 bits at a time, e.g. the USB port. So I just listed most of the components of the computer and explained their basic functioning, so you should know most of them right now and can be able to say something about them. So now let's take a brief overview of computer generations. In total, we have 5 generations of computers. Firstly, we have the first generation of computers, characterized by vacuum tubes, which were large and consumed enormous amounts of energy. Secondly, the second generation of computers, which the main component were discrete transistors. They were still large, but they were relatively smaller as compared to the first generation of computers. Then we have the third generation of computers, which the main components were the integrated circuits. They were smaller and power consumption was also smaller. Then we have the fourth generation of computers, which are the present generations of computers, and they are characterized by integrated circuit or chips, that is the microprocessors, and these computers are relatively smaller than the other generations of computers, and the power consumption is way more better and smaller as compared to the other generations of computers. Finally, we have the fifth generation of computers, characterized by artificial intelligence and quantum computing. These are the computers under development right now, and they are the future generation of computers. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more. You could also propose video topics in comment. Stay safe.